Um, I'm from Topeka, Kansas, and I've moved all over the country. East Coast, West Coast, lived on the beach in California for a while, lived on the East Coast for a long time, but have been here for 7 years in Ohio and a few in Indiana before that. So I've been in the Midwest for a while. I started playing because my husband played and would take me along to play cards in people's garages or basements, and I had no idea what I was doing. I've been a card player all my life. I grew up playing cribbage and hearts and spoons and any kind of silliness that you could around the kitchen table, but had never really gambled. Didn't know the hand rankings. Didn't know how to play poker at all. And so I was playing one time in someone's garage, and I was playing against a husband and wife. And they were obviously playing different with one another than they were with me, and it felt like they were just fleecing me. And in retrospect, they were shorthanding, which is what we all do when we play someone that we know very well on a regular basis. They raise, you fold. You can read their minds when you play someone or you're married to them and you play them a lot. So, but to me, it was quite obvious that they were both only playing me, and that was annoying, and I didn't like the feeling. And so I went back and I started playing online quite a bit, and really got the bug, got bit, and I started to play a lot, but only online. And then when I moved here 5 or 7 years ago, I started playing in leagues and fell in love with live play, and have left online play behind a long time ago. But I still play a little bit, but it's just to show my daughter or my son how to play. That's it. That's all.
That's great. That's a good story. I love that story. This is a two-part question. If I remember correctly, in your first interview, when we started in this season, you categorized yourself as a grinder.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder, we wonder, the audience wonders now too, after 2 seasons of play, with the opportunity to watch replay and knowing that players are also watching you. Basically, has being recorded for the last 2 seasons changed the way you play? Has being able to watch how you play changed your game? And do you think that players who have watched you play have an advantage against playing against you now?
Sure. I think anybody who plays, who sees you play, who can see it has to give them an advantage. It has changed how I play when I play here, and then that folds back to how you play. I've tried to play here, and I was thinking about how I would play this season and what I would change. And when I was thinking about that today, and when you try to come up with what you're going to do next, you definitely have to come at it completely differently. Your third season, I think you probably have to come at it differently every season, certainly every season, because people have more information about you than they do. I went to play somewhere else not very long ago, and I wanted to play in a room with people I didn't know because I was going to Borgata, and I hadn't played in a room that I didn't know very much. And I thought I really have to get out and play with it, because league play, you tend to play the same people too much. And so when I got to the room, I thought, this is great. Here's 6 tables, and I only know a few. And I get to my table, and I'm looking around, and I don't see anybody I know. And I'm thinking, fantastic. And then the one person who I can't see that was in like the 5 seat, they were kind of blocked, said, and she's the other one who won the trip. I thought, I'm outed. And it's a difference. And when people know anything about you, whether you've ever played before or how you play or what you play in first position versus on the button, all of that has to come into your thinking. So when I was looking at this season, I definitely have come up with a strategy that I think I would like to try. We'll give it a few weeks and see how it goes. I certainly think playing has changed my game. I think that it made me a braver player, less conservative, sometimes, and less of a grinder and a little more aggressive in my game. I still don't think of myself as anywhere near an aggressive player, but I definitely think that it has been molded by the people that I watch, and also just by association with card players here. We tend to talk about the game. I don't live in an atmosphere where I talk about my game very much. I come here, I play, and I go home, and I'm putting dinner on the table and laundry, and it's definitely mixed, jammed into regular life. So when you come here and you get to spend some time with people who are reviewing hands and mark, and we go back and we look at them, and after the game we tease each other, it definitely changes your game. There's no doubt, and for the better. I took my game. I did go to Borgata, and I did money, not very much, a little tiny bit, but I made it through a room of very good players, and that's when you know whether your game has stepped up or it hasn't. So it definitely stepped my game up. So, of course, not this week. I've been on a bad run. So that's all relative to the day that you're reflecting from.
And I agree with you on that. And I guess I'd like you to reflect a little bit more about, if you can, maybe go back and are there any parallels between your experience on Chase the Bracelet and your success? You're winning that seat at Regatta.
Sure.
And then tell us more though about that experience, because there's not many people that I know or that I think are even in the group of people that we play with that have had that opportunity. So to listen to you talk about it a little bit, that would be great.
You wear people. When I used to have to write things in high school, I would read a writer that I was supposed to, if you were going to write a short story, you'd read Stephen King's short stories and then go write it, because it was easier once you had the voice in your head to put it down on paper. I wear people at the poker table. If I'm sitting down and I know that I need to behave like this, I'll wear Paul. And then to me, I'll tighten up and be super aggressive and lay down queens when I don't, he's so tight. He's such a tight player. And there are times that I need that. And because I have him in my head as it's not a type of play, it's a person I can emulate, it's easier for me to lay down the way that I naturally want to play a hand, which may or may not be smart. I'm not saying it's the way to go. But there are times that you need to do that. That's easy for me. I can always play tighter. I have a very hard time playing aggressively with a little looser set of cards. So I can wear other people at the table, or even people who are cash game players who play totally different that have played at this table. Rick, I'm thinking of in particular, Rick McGee, who's a great cash game player, and he brings an entirely different element to a game like this. But it's a great thing to have in your arsenal, to play these people on a regular basis and really pick up different methods of play from them. And then that brings an element to your game. It always will. Anytime you have repeated exposure to someone else's play, it rubs off osmosis, and you get a little bit of it in your game. So, and I don't know. I guess I'll have to sit and watch this season and see how my game has changed. But playing against people who, the things that have changed, short stacks no longer scare me. They come or they go. And I was always a grinder. Short stack never really bothered me, but not like now. Now I have much more confidence in my game. If I get short stacked, I just don't have that fear thing that used to sort of sit in the back of you. That definitely influences your game. If you're not afraid of the short stack, then you're not afraid to make a move when you're not short stacked, because it just doesn't factor in. So that was probably part of the thing that I took with me to play elsewhere. I think all of those things. Playing your game where you can go back and look, where other people can see what you're playing. A lot of times for me, it's like playing when you're playing with someone else's money, when you're subbing for them, and you're being more responsible about your choices and more thoughtful with what you do. I think that happens here, because you have to go back and look at it. So that's it.
Tell us about the experience at the Regatta.
It's a beautiful casino in Atlantic City. They have a great structure, a deep stack structure, which I really enjoy. And there were a lot of professional poker players and not necessarily names that you know, but people that were being backed by other people. And there were a whole lot of people having dinner with their backers, that kind of thing. So it was fun. I met people there from that had helped with the boot camps, and were looking at what they were designing moving forward. It was fun to listen to them talk. I don't know, it's exposure to a lot of different things. And as always, who you are at the table changes based on the table. I'm a talker, so a lot of times I chat at the table. But there are tables that you sit at that you never say a word. And so you watch all kinds of other people, and you adapt to where you're sitting, and it's fun. I sat down the first day. We started at 11, and we were supposed to finish at 2 a.m. We played until 4 o'clock in the morning, 17 hours of poker. And I got up, and I was tired, but I had a blast. Now, anything that you do for 17 hours, I don't care how much you like it, that's a full day. But when do you get to do that, where you're really testing every hand for 17 hours? It feels like you've worked muscles that you don't get a chance to work, and that was fun.
That's a great story. Hearing you talk about it, and because I know you, it's easy for me to sort of bring in analogies of the story, and how things evolve and how you relate things. And I think that because too of the fact that you're a mom and you have other things going on outside of poker, that there's I think a joy in this idea of the teaching or the mentor. Like I heard you talk about the boot camp and how you were interested in that. So I think at this point, because you have gone on to more success and more cashing than a lot of the other people that are in our circle, I'd like you to take the opportunity to, look inside yourself and talk about maybe what you struggled with when you first started playing. How did you identify what it was that you really needed to change about your game?
I lost money.
How, as a mentor, how can you give some advice to those people who are just starting to play, I guess, how you identify, what your problems are and how you solve it? Or do you feel like you're still in practice, I guess? I
do. I feel like I'm just hitting about a medium game. There are most days that I get up and think, you could have played that better, should have played that better, and boy, you have a lot to learn. This is a wonderful, wonderful hobby game, whatever it is. It mostly, I really like to compete at things where I'm competing with my abilities more than I'm competing with. I don't come to the table to take anybody else's money. I come to the table to win, to play my cards to the very best of my ability. And I know that there are people out there that are thinking that's crazy. But your responsibility is to make the most after each and every hand, whether you've taken a big hit or something else. So if you're going to come to it new, always, no matter what happened on the last hand, let it go and play the next hand to the best of. You've got to make those 2 chips that you have left make the most for you moving forward. I saw someone at Borgata take 3 chips and make the money because somebody else couldn't wait to play a hand, and she just maintained that the way that she could make money with these 3 chips was to fold and play smart and wait for somebody else to get impatient, and it worked. And then not 2 weeks later, found myself in the same position where I did not follow suit, and I ended up not making the money and bubbling when I should have just folded. And I thought, she, with her 3 chips, played a better game than I did tonight. There's always something to learn. And whether you take money off the table that night or not, you've just paid $100 to play or whatever it is, wherever you're sitting in whatever casino. And I don't play high stakes, and I don't think I'm a very successful player, but if I don't leave with money from the table, I had better have gotten at least what I paid for, which is an education out of it. If you leave and you didn't learn something, then that's your own fault. And you should try to better your game every time. So if you're starting and it's not going very well, make sure that you get your money's worth off the table when you go. Pay attention to what you did and try to move forward from it the next time.
Daniel Nagano is a profiler. and he feels he knows a lot about how someone plays by identifying their background, what they do for a living, etc. And I'm curious to know, or for you to talk about, do you think that you profile players, and how good are you at reading players?
I think I'm a terrible player reader. I don't think I do that nearly enough. I listen to people at the table, and they will have picked up and be speaking openly about how someone plays, and I will have missed it altogether. I'm an instinctive player. I get a gut feeling, and I roll with it, and I don't assess why I think the way I do, which I should. It's a big hole in my game. I think humans, but women in particular, go through life reading a room. From the time that we're very small, we're working a room. You see a little girl in diapers at Sunday at church, and she's working the entire room the whole time. She's getting what she wants from everyone, whether it's attention or a cookie or, whatever it is. She's always working it. And I think that I'm one of those people that has just worked a room all my life. And so whether it was waitressing or tending bar or whatever it was through college, and I can remember going to different tables, worked in a nice steak restaurant as a kid, and one table you would be the perfect waitress in as much as you were quiet, their service, everything was filled and done prior to them ever looking up. You were invisible and everything was right the whole time. For another table, the next table over, you were entertaining. You were actually speaking to them, and you were just reading the room and providing. I don't think I pay enough attention to why people do things. I just know that that's how I'm supposed to play them, and that's what I try to do. And then I epically fail because I haven't done enough to broaden the other side of that. Good instincts are fine, but you really have to bring it all to the table if you're going to win.
What's in your poker future?
I would really like to play consistently. Not a consistent game, to play consistently better, to play casinos more with more people that I don't know, which will be nice with the casino coming to Cleveland, because here we don't have that opportunity the same way. We have to travel to get that, and it's not always possible to get away. I think that it would be a real shame. I play with a lot of people here who money. I went to the Borgata with a girlfriend, and she paid $450 buy-in and took $12,000 off the table. I'm by far not the cash person in the group that I try to surround myself with. I always try to play people better than I do, better than I am. But if we lost the leagues because the casino comes to town, it would be to Ohio's detriment. I think that league play makes us all better on a regular basis. It gives you a chance to reflect on your game the same way you can here in the cameras, in a way that you can't when you're playing in a casino. You tend to think that the wild cards are other people and not the variance in your play or the structure in your play or whatever. You just doesn't give you that petri dish to really work on your game the way this does. But it will be nice to move on to a casino game and be able to see if I can't do more with my game moving forward. I would love to get to the places my kids finally leave home, to travel several times a year and go play in bigger venues and see how I do. I've done well the few times I've played out. Not great, not big money, nothing like that, but certainly for the experience that I bring forward. The people that we play here, Ohio produces a really good crop of players. They do. And I think it's because of the way that we are forced to play without the casinos that makes it true. So it'd be nice to move on to the next category.
That was freaking fantastic.
No.
You just totally nailed everything all together. That was great. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, that was awesome. It was awesome.
I talked way too much.
No. Actually,
why do we like you so much?
that was fantastic. I love that end part. That was great. I never even considered that, but that's so true that we get to practice them with each other because of the leagues.